Hello guys, and welcome to the second part of our waistcoat pattern with a shawl collar. In the first part of this video, I showed you guys how to draft the back panel of a shawl collar waistcoat with a double breasted. So this is what we did in the first part of the video, and in today's video, which is the second part, we shall continue from where we stopped, where we'll be drafting the front panel and we will construct our shawl collar. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, kindly check the description area below for the link to the tutorial. My name is Bolaji and this is Regi School of Fashion. In drafting the front panel of a shawl collar waistcoat, I used the back panel as a template to grade the front panel. I transferred all the lines I have on my back panel on a fresh pattern paper, as you can see. So I have this as my starting point. I have this as the chest level. I have this as a new chest level, the second chest level. This is the waist level and this is the waistcoat length. Okay, so when I was transferring this pattern, I did not place my pattern on the edges of the new pattern paper. I left about 3.5 inches aside before drawing out my center front line. This is because I needed about 3.5 inches as my placket allowance. I need up to 3.5 inches because this is a double breasted. From the edges of my pattern paper to this line is half of an inch. It's going to serve as a seam allowance in finishing the edges of the placket. Then from this half of an inch to the center front line is 3 inches. So in total, from the center front to the edges of my pattern paper is 3.5 inches. Then for the upper part of my pattern, I left 5 inches at the top before the starting point line, which means from the edges of my pattern paper to the starting point line I have 5 inches. This is what I will be using in constructing the shawl collar. Okay, in constructing the shawl collar, the back neckline is needed to be constructed together with the front. That was why I drafted the back panel first. So I've taken the measurement here and I've noted this on my pattern. When it's time to construct the collar, I will be making use of it. Then on the front panel, I'm here to construct the neckline and the armhole. So this is what I will be doing first before constructing the shawl collar. So in constructing the neckline, I will use the same neck width measurement I used for the back, which is 3 inches. From the center front line to this point is my 3 inches. Then for the depth of the neckline is going to be 3 inches as well, unlike the back panel where I used 2 inches. Okay, so now I have the front neckline constructed. Then I will proceed in constructing the armhole. In constructing the armhole, at the midpoint I marked out on my armhole line, I will measure 0.75 inward towards the center front. I use 0.5 for the back, but for the front I will use 0.75. Then I will construct the armhole. Okay, so now I have the front armhole constructed. I constructed this the same way I constructed the back neckline. The only difference is the measurement I used on the midpoint, so which is 0.75 for the front and half of an inch for the back. So the next step now is to adjust the shoulder line. I'm doing this the exact way I did it on the back panel. Okay, so now I have this as the new front armhole, and I will cross this out. So having done this, the next step is to move to the construction of our shock collar. So in constructing the shock collar, I will mark out the break points. That is where the lapel will stop. So the measurement I will be using for the bottom break point is going to be 4 inches after the chest level. So from the chest level, that is the real chest level, I will measure 4 inches downward. Now this measurement is not standard. If you don't want the chest area to be too opened, you can reduce this measurement. If you want it more open, you can add to it. It all depends on your preference, but for the sake of this tutorial, I will be using 4 inches. Then from the 4 inches point, I will connect this upward to my neck width point, which is 3 inches. So I will be connecting the neck width together with the 4 inches I marked out. Then I will position my ruler in such a way my ruler gets to the 5 inches space I have at the top. So here is my neck width point. I will draw a straight line like so. So this is called the lapel. Then I will extend it to the seam allowance point, which is the edges of my pattern paper. Okay, from the neck width point as well, I will extend it upward to the 5 inches point. So that is the edges of my pattern paper at the top. So after drawing out the lapel line, the next step is to insert the back neckline measurement. Just as I explained earlier that the back neckline will be used in constructing the shock collar, I've taken this measurement and what I have is 4.25. So from the starting point line, which is the neck width point, I will measure 4.25 following the line I just drew out. Which is here. Then I will extend this line forward on a straight line. Then I will extend it outward. Okay, so now you can see what I have. So on this straight line, I will insert the measurement I want to use for my collar. The standard measurement for a short collar is 3 inches, as this also depends on how wide you want the collar to be. If you want it wider, then you can add to the measurement, and you can as well reduce this to 2.5 inches if you don't want it to be wide at all. So as for me, I will be using 3.5 inches for the collar, apart from my seam allowance. Don't forget, I haven't had any seam allowance yet on my pattern. So I have it like so. Then the next step is to shape out my collar. So I'm going to have a round shape downward, and the shape will be decreasing as I'm taking it downward to the break point. So which means from the 3.5 inches point I have here, I will be connecting in a curvy manner downward to the break point, and it has to stop on the edges of my pattern paper. Don't forget, this is the 4 inches point I measured as my break point, because what I have from these edges to this point is my seam allowance. But when I'm connecting, I will connect directly to the edges of my pattern paper. So from the edges of my pattern paper, I will connect directly to the 3.5 inches point. So guys, now here is what I have for my shock collar. You can see this. So the next step is to shape the back neckline. You can see I have this on a straight line, and the neckline is not on a straight line. So for this reason, I will take this backward by 1/2 inch. So from the shoulder line here, I will measure 1/2 inch backward. Then I will shape it like so. So with this, after cutting this out, I will not have it on a straight line. So instead of having the back neckline on a straight line like so, it's going to be a little bit curvy, so which will help when constructing the neckline. So guys, the last but not the least step is to shape the hemline. I did not shape the back hemline because I wanted to shape the front and the back together. So in shaping the hemline of the front panel, I will come to the placket side. Okay, so on the hemline of the placket side, I will measure 5 inches upward. Then I will mark it out. Then I'll come to the side seam. On the side seam, I will measure 3.5 inches upward. Which is here. Then from the 5 inches point, I will connect in a slant manner to the first dart point. So with the straight side of my ruler. Okay, then for this side, if you don't mind, you can just use the straight side of your ruler as well and connect to the next dart line like so. That is if you want this side to be on a straight line. Okay, and if you don't want it to be on a straight line, you can use the curvy part as well. You can make it this way, so which means this will be facing downward or in an opposite direction. So it all depends on your choice. You can see the effect of this. The effect of this will be different from this. Or from a straight line. So it all depends on your choice. So now that I have the front panel shaped, then I can proceed in shaping the back panel, because I cannot shape the back panel before shaping the front panel. In shaping the back pattern, firstly I will reduce the length I used for the waistcoat length. The back length will not be as long as the front length, so the real length I use is 25 inches for both the front and the back. So for the back panel, I will reduce this by 2.5 inches. So from the hem line, I will measure 2.5 inches upward, and I will make it a straight line. Okay, then I will come to the side seam of the back panel and I will measure 3.5 inches I measured on the front. This is because the side of the front and the back must align. They must be the same because we are joining the two together. But as for the center, this is the center back. The center back is standalone. We are not joining the center back and the center front together. The length can be different. But as for the side, the length has to be the same. So from the hem line, I will measure the same 3.5 inches upward. So which I have here. Then I will be applying the same shape I used for the front. So whatever you used is what you should use for the back. If it is straight line, make sure you use a straight line for the back. Now in this case, I'm not connecting to the hemline. Don't forget, this is the new waistcoat length for the back panel. So that was why I connected from here to this place. So if I'm using this, it will go this way, and if I'm using this, it will go this way. So now I will trace out the hemline of the back panel. So now you can see what I have for the back panel, and I have this for the front panel. So guys, now we have the front and the back panel of a double-breasted shawl collar waistcoat drafted. As you can see, this is for the front and this is for the back. The only thing I have left to do is to add my seam allowances all around the pattern. After adding my seam allowances, then I will cut it out. This is optional. If you don't want to add your seam allowance on your pattern, you can definitely do that on the fabric. So in adding the seam allowances, half of an inch of seam allowance is needed on the back neckline, half of an inch on the shoulder line, half of an inch on the armhole, so which is the new armhole. The side I will add 0.75 as my seam allowance. On the hemline, I don't need to add any seam allowance anymore. I have my hem allowance added already. Then for the front panel, you need to pay a closer attention. I will be adding half of an inch on the collar. Okay, the half of an inch I extended here is going to serve as the half of an inch of seam allowance I needed by this side of the collar. So I'm not extending this anymore. I've extended this already, so which means from this point now to this point I have 4 inches. And for the edges of the pattern paper, I already have my seam allowance of half of an inch, so I don't need to add any seam allowance here. But for this straight line, I will take it up by half of an inch, like so. Okay, then I will extend it forward by half of an inch again, and I will add this, that is the back neckline. I will add half of an inch around that side. Then on the shoulder line, I will add half of an inch of seam allowance, and I will extend it downward to the armhole. The armhole is going downward by half of an inch as well. Then the side seam 0.75. Then on the lower part, I don't need to add any allowance because I have my hem allowance added already. So guys, now I have my seam allowances added on the front and the back panels. So this is the back, while this is the front. So the part I highlighted with my red marker is what I will be cutting out, which is my seam allowances lines. So now I'm cutting on the shawl collar. You can see the shape. Then I will stop on the bottom break points. So this is the joining part for the back neckline. I'm cutting on the seam allowance line as well. Here is the back neckline. Okay, so this is the front shoulder line. I'm cutting on the seam allowance line. The armhole, you can see I've taken the armhole forward by half of an inch. This is the initial armhole I constructed, and I took this forward by half of an inch. Then I'm cutting on the side seam. Then I will stop on this point. Kindly ignore the lines I have here. So this is what I have for the front panel. This is the front panel of a shawl collar waistcoat pattern. Then I'll proceed in cutting out the back panel. So guys, now I have the front and the back panels of a shawl collar waistcoat cut out. As you can see, the shape is looking beautiful. Don't mind the shape of the front, it looks funny when you cut out the pattern, but after construction, trust me, it's going to look very beautiful. Thank you guys for watching this video to this point. Make sure you get your patterns ready, as I will be walking you through the process of putting the pieces together to make a beautiful shawl collar waistcoat in the next episode. Thank you once again, and I will see you in my next video. Till then, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.